Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I hope I'll be able to keep your attention. My name is Noah Gwariro. I'm the Managing Director at Zimbabwe Power Company. My topic, keeping the lights on, opportunities for meeting electricity demand needs. It will come in two parts. I am looking at the African context, where I'm addressing the challenge on an African level, continental level, and I'll also try and explain how we are keeping the lights on in Zimbabwe, which is the Zimbabwean context. Ladies and gentlemen, Africa is facing a gradual early warning signs of a declining electricity power delivery. We have got coal piles which are running low, and we have got electricity generation plants which are behind schedule. I'm sure a lot of this has already been said by various presenters these past 3 days. We also realize that the existing assets now need a lot of maintenance, and our new build programs are fairly way behind right through the continent. The current situation is that Africa is about 147 gigawatts of installed capacity, which is a level comparable to the capacity which China installs in every 2 years. The per capita electricity consumption in Africa is very low, 853 kilowatt hours per year, a quarter of what Indians consume on average. About 600 million people in Africa lack access to electricity and power. Ladies and gentlemen, this then tells us we've got a major challenge. Studies have suggested that the continent will need to add 250 gigawatt of capacity, and between now and 2030. This creates numerous opportunities for Africa to meet its electricity demand. The opportunities are untapped in renewable energy, and one of the biggest renewable energy potentials lie in hydropower. This is followed by onshore wind, biomass, and geothermal. Africa has got 27% of the world's hydropower potential, with 93% of its hydropower potential still to be developed. That is a good thing in itself, but it also shows how underdeveloped we are. In Zimbabwe, the Kariba power station supplies 750 megawatts of electricity, which meets 50% of the country's electricity demand. Currently, the Zimbabwean and Zambian governments are working together to establish 1,600 megawatt power station on the Batoka Gorge in order to cater for electricity needs of the two countries. I'm sure yesterday it was highlighted that we need to cooperate to execute some of these projects. Some of the other major projects in Africa include the proposed Grand Inga project in the Democratic Republic of Congo, which is expected to yield 39,000 megawatts in total, and the Lower Kafue in Zambia, which is estimated at 750 megawatts. The Kariba South expansion projects, which ZPC is executing, will add 300 megawatts to the 750. Several factors make hydropower development an attractive option, where hydropower storage capacity and fast response characteristics enable especially good operation and to cater out sudden fluctuations in demand. It is also able to provide cost-effective systems and regulation of floods in another sense, and in other instances we can also even apply it to irrigation. So it brings about other benefits to the developers. Integrated water management can be applied to dams and reservoirs so that flow through rivers is actually controlled. Solar power is the largest renewable resource potential in Africa, and it is a high quality solar resource almost in the whole of the continent, except for the equatorial rainforest areas. There is large technical potential for creating solar power in Africa, and even under conservative assumptions, it could meet demand and even surpass it by 2050. The key factor holding back development of solar power in Africa is its price and variability. However, rapid cost reductions are being achieved for solar due to technological developments and an improving learning rate. Solar solutions for rural areas can play a vital role in enhancing off-grid energy access. In the northwestern Atlantic coast and the Red Sea, the Horn of Africa, and South Africa and Namibia, all these areas have got high-quality resources for onshore wind with the potential to reach the order of 1,750 gigawatts. This far exceeds the total African demand. Then the next source of energy for Africa is the geothermal energy, another potential source which the Rift Valley offering the greatest potential, and it encompasses a number of countries: Eritrea, Uganda, Tanzania, Zambia, Malawi, and Madagascar. And the potential for grid-connected electrification is high in the East African Rift Valley, with approximately 3,700 miles in length, and in several East African countries such as Ethiopia, Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. According to United Nations report, Kenya has a potential of 10,000 megawatts of untapped geothermal energy. I'm sure yesterday you remember we also heard quite a lot about that potential in Kenya. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the African context of my paper. I'll move on to the Zimbabwean context. We have seen a number of electricity reforms in Zimbabwe. Right, the overview. Electricity is crucial input to the industry's production and production cycle. Zimbabwe is plagued by a shortage of power. I'll show you later on a table. Reliable capacity is of the order of 1,320 megawatts against a demand of 2,220 megawatts. There is a need for investments to be made in order to increase the amount of reliable capacity. The increase in reliable capacity should be made available at a competitive price. I want to also show you the reforms that have been happening in our electricity industry. That is the structure which we had before, up to the end of last year, where the Minister of Energy sits at the top, and below it we had ZESA Holdings with 4 companies under it: Zimbabwe Power Company, which is the one on the far left, Zimbabwe Electricity Distribution and Transmission Company, PowerTel, and ZESA Enterprises. At the same level as ZESA Holdings, we had Rural Electrification Agency and the Zimbabwe Energy Regulatory Authority, ZERA. This has since changed to the next slide there, where the electricity structure has got a rationalized structure where everything revolves around the ZERA, the regulator, who has got a compact with the Minister of Energy for policy and planning. We now have a national grid company in the middle, to which ZPC produces power and sells. We also have got other licensees and IPPs which would sell power to the national grid company. From the national grid company, they supply the distribution company, ZEDC, with a number of distributors there. They also sell directly to bulk supply companies. These are big users, such as big mines and other big consumers. ZPC's strategy, being the major generator of power in Zimbabwe, we have identified 3 areas which are actually gap areas. We've got gap A, the unavailability of installed capacity. We heard about that, where you got 1,960 megawatts, but only 1,300 is available. We've got gap B, which is the gap between installed capacity and the required capacity. We also have got gap C, which addresses the gap between the organizational capability and what we want it to be. That is the table which shows the challenge in Zimbabwe for keeping the lights on. As you can see, we've got our biggest power station, Hwange Power Station, a 920 megawatt installation, which is currently only able to supply 480 megawatts reliably. That leaves us with a huge gap of 440 megawatts. So it requires recapitalization. For those who know a bit about Zimbabwe, that situation used to be even worse prior to 2009. Kariba, we have got a hydro plant there which is very reliable. Currently it can do what it was upgraded to do. It was upgraded in the late 1990s and the project was completed in 2003. We also have got Blue Air Power Station, a 90 megawatt plant, which is only running at 30, and we've got a gap of 60 megawatts there. Munyati, 100 megawatts with a gap of 60 megawatts. And the Harare Power Station, 100 megawatts and a gap of 80 megawatts. The last three plants, Blue Air, Munyati, and Harare, are very old plants from the 1950s, and the plant is obsolete. What we want to do is to repower those and fit circulating fluid as bed boilers so that we can realize better efficiencies and be able to burn cheaper coal and other combustible materials. Our challenge is cut out there. We estimate that our current demand is in the order of 2,200 megawatts. So you can see there is a huge gap between what is installed and what our demand is, and also between what is installed and what we are able to generate. From the existing assets, they are underperforming to the tune of 640 megawatts due to obsolescence mostly and lack of maintenance in the past few years. Zimbabwe is a highly interconnected country. In the utility is connected to Mozambique or to HCB in Mozambique, to ZESCO in Zambia, to ESCOM. So while there is that huge gap, we are also able to import quite an amount of power to try and reduce the gap. The opportunity really, as far as the current installed capacity or assets, lies in Hwange, which has been underperforming. And as you can see, comparing 2012 and 2013, we have seen some improvements after major refurbishments, which we are continuing to do. So far, between 2008 and 2012, we have applied about $140 million on that power plant to try and address that gap of 440 megawatts. We also have got the tariff methodology, which ZERA uses to arrive at our tariffs. And for those who are coming in as IPPs, it's basically cost plus, which is what we have there. We, even us as the existing license holders, we do have to get a tariff every year. But for our new projects, we are working to get a long-term tariff or at least a properly defined tariff route so that the investors can be assured of their return investment. I've also put up current projects and the tariff implications. We are looking at extending Kariba Power Station at the top there by 2 times 150 megawatts, 300 megawatts, and the project cost is $506 million. This project is expected to start this year. We are looking at reaching financial close in June 2013, and this project will run for 40 months. A contract was awarded last year to Sino Hydro for that work, and they are already on the ground to do some detailed feasibility study. They are drilling and doing topographical surveys so that they can finalize the designs for the power plant. We've got Hwange Power Station, where we want to add 2 units of 300 megawatts each, making a total of 600, and it is expected to cost $2 billion. Again, we're looking at reaching financial close this year. A contractor was recently awarded by our State Procurement Board. That was won by CIMEC of China, and that project is estimated to take us 42 months. As you can see, I'm sure those who know Zimbabwe, $2 billion will be very difficult to raise. So we anticipate that the project might in practice be done in 2 parts, where we construct the first unit and get it commissioned, and then do the second one once we are getting revenues from the first machine. Wange life extension, we are looking at extending the life of the power station to be able to have an additional, or rather to realize the firm 920 megawatt capacity for the plant, and that should cost us 500 million. We already have various proposals for doing that work from the OEMs and other service providers. ZPC is also working on a hydro plant in the eastern part of the country, 30 megawatts. Those who know the distribution of our power plants, they are mostly to the west of the country, and this one is to the east, and we believe it will serve to reduce losses in our grid, and it is estimated to cost 90 billion, and ZPC is going to fund that. We reckon it will take 30 months. We also working at the small thermals, which I mentioned before. The total cost is around 332 million, and we want to do that over 36 months. We have already started with Harare Power Station, where a tender is currently running for bidders to make their proposals. The power station projects, the various tariffs are given there. As you can see, Kariba South currently has got a tariff of 2.35 US cents per kilowatt hour, and when we extend it, the tariff will go up to 4.3. Wange expansion, the tariff is currently 8, it will go up to 9.78, and once we do life extension on the existing assets at Wange, the tariff for them will go to 9 cents, and the Garezi hydro plant will have a tariff of 10 cents. The small thermals, they are very costly currently at 16 cents, and they will come down to 9 cents. We are looking at working together with other companies to do joint ventures, and there are also projects which have been proposed by independent power producers, and those are some of the projects. We are looking at being able to do solar projects utilizing coal bed methane, and also to do Batoka Gorge, as I've said, jointly with Zambia. And we are also looking at western coal fields in the Wange area, where there is potential for 1,200 megawatt power plant. We are also planning to do Devil's Gorge on the Zambezi again, in conjunction with the Zambia, where our share of the output will be in the order of 620 megawatts. Kahora Basa, we are interested to be part of that project. We already have licenses issued out for a number of plants, IPPs. These are Lisulu Power Plant, 2,400 megawatts, ESA, 600 megawatts, Gokwe North, 1,400, and Kondo Hydro. Ladies and gentlemen, that is our estimated generation long-run marginal cost. As you can see, we anticipate our tariff to make a big jump from the current 6 cents, that is our cost of generation, to more than 10 cents in the next 3 years. Our transmission costs are currently in the order of 4 to 5 cents, which will be additional to that. Right, what needs to be done to keep the lights on? We have a long-term vision 2040, where Zimbabwe is supposed to develop 10 gigawatt capacity. We are currently at 1,900 gigawatt, and in 2020 we want to develop to 3.5 gigawatts. So we need to make major investments in the electricity generation sector to meet current and future demand. And ZPC and other private sector players must work together on a number of available low-cost options, including the refurbishment of existing old stations, extension of existing stations, and the new coal-fired power stations, new coal bed methane projects, and also hydro options which are available. We are strongly looking at solar options, And there is also a plan, or rather implementation of consumer demand side management. Unfortunately, the cost of capital is very high in Zimbabwe at the present time. Unless alternative solutions are identified and implemented, Zimbabwe faces sharp tariff increases over the next 10 years. Thank you.
Do we have any burning questions for Noah? Please introduce yourself and where you're from.